I'm here with Robert Noland. This is David Hendrickson with Giving Company. Robert, the Sword and Shield, this 40-day devotional, I've obviously been engaged with you on this for quite some time.
Yeah.
Explain to our audience, if you don't mind, the significance of the sword and the shield
Sure.
as sort of the entry point to the devotional.
Sure. Well, years ago when I began doing men's ministry, I really discovered that guys can relate to knights. And the knight was really, there was a lot of correlation to Christian virtues, and some of them were directly connected as knights to that. But when you think about, even back to biblical days, to the medieval times, when a man had a sword, that was considered his offensive weapon. I mean, certainly it can become defense, but it's predominantly an offensive weapon. The shield was designed to protect the heart and the body. And so the metaphor for today's Christian man is your sword, which the Bible is also called a sword in Scripture. Paul called it that. Is for spiritual growth. I'm going to be offensive in my life, intentional about growing spiritually, but at the same time, I need to protect myself, and Paul called in Ephesians 6, the fiery darts of the enemy. So you have to develop more protection as a shield while you're advancing in your spiritual growth with your sword. So the sword and shield is a metaphor towards spiritual growth and more protection.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, you guys are probably getting excited to engage with the Sword and Shield, a 40-day devotional for men towards spiritual growth and moral protection. Robert, what would be your recommendation to our audience, particularly the men who are going to be the ones likely to engage here, about how to sort of tackle this 40-day journey? How do they get prepared? How do they engage with the content? What would be your recommendations there?
Well, first thing is you have to get the book.
Yeah, that's true.
That's an important
step. That would be a good start.
But the way we designed this, and you guys were so incredible to work with in helping design this whole format, was obviously most of us are familiar with devotional. Some men never have. Essentially, there's a topic. I deal with stuff like what all 40 days do is it compares things like what's the difference between confidence and arrogance? What's the difference between having hope and experiencing hype? What's the difference in input and output in our lives? So there's a constant comparison of those two issues. One's kind of God's version and one's the world's version. So there's some teaching from me, some real basic teaching from me on those topics, maybe a story connected to that. We always have a scripture verse that connects to that. There's a prayer for guys who are really just trying to learn to pray or deepen in their prayer life. There's a memory verse for the guys who want to memorize scripture. But I think the key to this devotional that separates it from others is every day has a sword and a shield point where there's a question and there's room to write so that it asks you, how can you spiritually grow from connecting to this teaching point in the scripture today? How can you better protect yourself as a man through this topic today? And you write that out. And I think if guys will really take some time and engage with those questions, that's actually the most important part. Because that's where you're going to connect what God is saying to you and what you can do to apply that truth.
Yeah. At the end of the journey, you leave some accountability questions for the reader.
Sure.
Talk about the significance and importance of those.
Sure. Well, I'm a huge advocate in men's small groups. Besides being married to a godly woman, I think the greatest tool that God can use to change a man is when he submits and surrenders to a small group of men to say, I'm going to be honest with you about my life, pray for me, let's talk, let's share about life. That's just such a healthy, fertile environment for guys if they get around other like-hearted, like-minded men of God together, meet together. So that's a part of this tool is to say, I would really encourage guys, if you're in a small group, use the sword and shield questions in your small group. The accountability questions at the end are just designed as basically a form to say, here's some questions that you can ask of other men and ask them to say, how can you better protect yourself? How can you better grow spiritually? And then what I encourage guys to do is to take the questions that are in the book at the end, but then start developing your own. Like specify those questions to what you need to be asked on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, or however you meet with your friends, to customize your own questions for accountability. And it's not about trying to adhere to a law or something like that. It's really about learning how to be honest through a filter to grow and protect yourself.
That's awesome. Well, you mentioned it just a few minutes ago. Tell our audience, if you don't mind, where they can get their hands on your new devotional.
Well, Amazon, CBD, anywhere that you would order a Christian book, you can get it there. These guys, iDisciple Publishing, have been incredible to work with. They've they've made it available everywhere you can buy books. So that's
awesome.
a great way to get it.
Tell them before we go, robertnoland.com, I think, is where maybe they can engage with you a little bit more.
Yeah, robertnoland.com. You can engage with me directly there and everything that I do. Also, swordandshielddevo.com is where they need to go specifically about Sword and Shield. So swordandshielddevo.com.
Awesome. Well, that's it for today, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm here with Robert Noland, musician and author, talking about his new release, The Sword and Shield, a 40-day devotional journey towards spiritual growth and moral protection for men. Get your hands on it as soon as you can. You're going to love it. Thank you.